Welcome to Now Be You podcast. This is a space for women who lead, create, and carry responsibility, and who want to stay grounded, clear, and true to themselves while doing it. I'm Leonora, a mentor in embodied leadership and personal transformation. And in these conversations, we go beyond achievements and titles to explore the real turning points, doubts, and choices that guide us back to who we truly are. I continue these conversations in Now Be You Substack, where I share reflections and guided practices to help you slow down, think clearly, and reconnect with yourself. Today, I'm in conversation with Stephanie Canavasio, somatic psychotherapist, founder of Presence Embodied, and a woman whose work begins not from theory, but from her own life. Stephanie spent years numbing her inner world, and when she chose sobriety in 2013, she discovered that what she had been avoiding was also what she most needed to feel. That journey, through Gabor Maté's compassionate inquiry, contemplative psychotherapy, hundreds of hours of body work and breath work, became the foundation of a practice that now guides women through the places in themselves they have been most afraid to go. She works in Ibiza, online worldwide, and in groups that she describes as the most powerful portal of transformation she has encountered today. So we are talking about shadow metamorphosis and what it really means to come home to yourself. Welcome, Stephanie.
Thank you so much. Beautiful introduction.
So lovely to have you here, and thank you for allowing yourself and sharing with us your presence embodied through everything you've been going through. And I just want to invite you and to go to your journey a little bit, to get to know you more, and to start with this question: what does being yourself mean to you today compared to 20 years ago?
That's a good question. Being myself means being unapologetically in my own truth and being alive in my body and not being in the mind and either judging myself or judging others, which is where I spent so much of my life. So it probably means being in my heart and being grounded and anchored in this now moment.
So let's get back to that young, beautiful, fascinating girl who was successful in her career, modeling, living in New York, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I moved to New York when I was 10 from Nebraska. And I started modeling when I was 13. And because of some circumstances, I was living alone from when I was 14 in New York City. And
you was living alone when you were 14?
Yeah, my parents left. They had to go back to the Midwest. And
you stayed because of the career?
Because of school. I was at a girls' boarding school. I was living at home, but a girls' school called Marymount. And I brought myself up very quickly, I would say.
Yeah, you grew up very quickly, and you needed to do that because you went into modeling career very successfully for more than, decade?
Yeah, when I was 14 until probably 28. And I think that when I think back, those teenage years without my parents, I really leaned upon teachers and yoga teachers and Buddhist teachers that would be passing through New York, through different yoga studios. I was very curious. I read a lot of books. I was fascinated by astrology. I was definitely a seeker. And I was learning a lot. I really was curious about why I was there and what I was here to do. Already I was thinking about that when I was 12, 13.
But it's very interesting. You are a young girl in New York having success because you're starting your career, and suddenly, it's at that age and that time, it's a dream work, about being successful model. But let's go a little bit deeper on this backstage story. And, what was what was something you was numbing so deeply and running from yourself, even though you were successful, you were beautiful, you had a career, you had attention, you had everything what the outside world is saying, bravo.
Yeah.
Where did it bring you, this career and the success and the first coming up to the light?
I mean, it brought me a lot. I mean, at the time, I was masking a lot of pain, which I know now because I was bulimic, and I was suffering from bulimia, anorexia, and I was living alone at the time. So I had a lot of, now I know I had a lot of fear inside of my body, and a lot of, I mean, there was no one talking about trauma, and there was no internet. There was no social media. There was nothing online. I was kind of fending for myself in the modeling agency. I mean, those were the old days with modeling agencies. It was just kind of the Wild West. Yeah. And yeah, I was young. I was in nightclubs, going to parties, and started testing and tasting a lot of different drugs and drinking, and also, like I said, eating disorder. I was all over the place. But I do have to say, I always had a North Star. I would always go home just in time. I was getting straight A's. I was in the honors program. I had something within me throughout that entire time that I knew I was okay. So it sounds quite, on one side you think, oh wow, she was young, she was living alone, but I already had a connection to my soul self.
Yes.
I knew that I was protected and guided. And yeah, that was an important awareness that I had. But I also was on the self-destructive path.
Yes. And this is how you were learning about yourself as well, and the world at large.
Yeah. And relationships.
And we are talking, and I'm sure many women leaders who are listening to this podcast, or even their daughters, the younger generation, I do believe, we are keep on repeating those patterns and suffering from eating disorders, being teenagers, and going on another journey as drugs and alcohol. What really stopped you? And maybe that inspiration can really take other women on their own journey and be inspired by your story. Because you, in 2013, you went into
2008 drugs.
Yes.
So 2008 was cocaine and drugs, or other drugs.
But 13, you took a sober
13 was alcohol. But I didn't go through AA. I educated myself, and I made a program for myself with microdosing psilocybin. And I started that when I was, in 2013. And I started studying with Gabor Maté, and I was working with Gabor Maté with psychedelic medicine and therapy. At the time, he was offering a psychotherapy post psychedelic ceremonies that he wasn't leading. So he had this great idea to combine the two, which is what I do now. And because there's something very powerful where psychedelics take you, but the work is actually in how you're integrating. So compassionate inquiry, which is the process that I share right now, is and that I have shared since 2018, 2020, is this deeper dive into understanding the layers of the emotions, how they carry energy, how they connect us to our own energy body, and also unraveling the mind and the stories that we tell ourselves, and to be able to question and to have the awareness, is this real? Is this true? This story that keeps on repeating in my head? Or is there a space for me to inquire and to actually let go of old narratives?
So this journey that you went with Gabor Maté, and it helps you a lot to really go into another you know, another self. But if we're talking about women who are really busy and maybe they are numbing themselves right now with medicaments, drugs, alcohol, or their daughters having this, eating disorders, is there anything to start with themselves that you could advise right now?
I mean, first of all, exactly where they are is to begin a process.
Yeah.
And that process generally, from my experience, begins with a trusted and a experienced therapist that does a specific type of therapy called somatic psychotherapy, which is actually not just the story, but understanding what's happening in the body as we're telling these stories. Because that's really the root, from my understanding, is that it's held in the body. The repressed feelings, the unprocessed emotions are actually held in our system, in our the different systems in our body. And so it's basically kind of moment to moment being able to begin with an intention, because actually we have a lot of power. We hold a lot of power.
Yes.
And it begins with this idea when I have a lot of people that reach out, and I feel when they reach out, I'm ready now to do the work. Are you ready to question? Are you ready to do the inner work? Are you ready to ask yourself, where are you running? Where are you numbing? Where are you hiding?
This is where they can, anybody can start with that. Just the questioning, that's the different focus and direction can bring your life somewhere else than you are here right now. For example, suffering. We are talking about something that women already aware that they're stuck or something is repeating and they don't like to live that pattern any longer. This is where, with that focus and direction, they can start to attract the different decisions.
It just is this power of the choice that we have to say, this no longer. And what you asked before, what happened that I woke up, I would say, I hit rock bottom, or I hit bottom of my drugs and alcohol. There was nowhere else for me to go.
What happened when you understood that you really hit it?
There was a moment I looked at myself in the mirror and I didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
And I had everything that I thought that I wanted. I had a beautiful house. I was living in New York City. I had wanted another child. I kept on thinking, if I just get that. But I had reached such a state of destruction within myself. I hated myself. I had so much self-hatred and self-loathing that, I think I raised up my hands and I asked for help. And that person was that I reached out to was Gabor Maté, because he is a family friend. And he was lucky enough, at the time, he stayed with us in our house in New York in 2008 for a documentary, Neurons to Nirvana. And he did a specific type of questioning that was his natural way of being very direct, but actually not just listening to the story to tune into the body, which is what I've learned through him, is the words are one thing, but what's actually happening is through the voice, through the way people are carrying themselves.
The body language, the feeling what's happening inside. And this is where you really went into a deep inquiry of yourself and understanding, and you started to break through the patterns.
Yeah, because I first I think I'd always lived my life so much from my mind. I didn't feel connected to my body, and the essence of all of the work that I believe, the whole body of work of Presence Embodied, and I believe humanity, is this reconnection and being able to understand thinking can be very powerful. It's a wonderful skill. But when we learn to embody, that actually there's so much, we have access to so much more that is infinite, it's eternal, it's this place of the trueness of who we are, of our own divinity.
Yes.
If you know, there's a lot of different terms for it, but it's this authentic self, who we were, who we are, and always have
always
been,
will be,
and how to understand that the emotional wounds are the way back to that connection into the authentic self, is by understanding my addiction pointed me directly back into my own shame, my fear, my anxiety, but to be able to turn towards my pain as opposed to turn away, which is what I'd been educated, more or less, our culture is saying, no, just get more, spend more, have more.
Yes,
be, you know, get more. But it's like, no, maybe it's not more that we need. Maybe it's less, but maybe it's being willing to be vulnerable with the uncomfortable pain that we're holding, and that we might have, you know, also inherited.
Yes.
From our families.
Which it might be not even yours.
Yeah.
But it's your genetic tree that is running through you, and actually it's through this pain you might recognize what you need to do for yourself and what's needed to be done for the lineage itself.
Yeah, for women.
Yeah.
To redefine our roles as women, but also in that redefinition of who we are as women, it's actually giving men permission to do the same for themselves.
Yes.
So it's not at all, I don't believe it's about, you know, men have amazing qualities and women do too.
Yes.
It's that we've been under this wave of misunderstanding of power, that now we're actually, you know, if we learn in safe environments to actually speak to our men and find safe ways where we can reconnect and redefine this relationship, then we both rise.
Absolutely. But this moment when I'm hearing now our listeners just listening to your story and saying, okay, so in order for me to go through something and find this light through the darkness, to hit this bottom and really dare to go into transformation, is it true that you need to let go your past, your identity, to die in it? Or is it possible to navigate and transform in a different way? Because around this is a lot of spiritual bypassing, a lot of fear, a lot of drama, a lot of things like, I don't want to die in my identity. But I don't want to, yeah, so this is...
there's no... The past, it's about developing a different relationship to the past. Instead of seeing it as something bad that happened, how can we see it as an opportunity for growth? And to understand that all needed to happen for you to be where you are today.
Yes.
To say, oh wow, actually, I had perceived it that way, but in reality, now there's a possibility of using it as a source of my empowerment, because we are unique.
Absolutely.
And our unique qualities and gifts, they come through. They're in that same. The same wound, emotional wound that I was speaking about before, is actually where the gifts are coming through and the qualities develop.
Yes.
And the path of purpose unfolds.
Exactly.
I used to believe that my purpose was just, or my mission would, and I remember in New York City working for a nonprofit, thinking that, oh, that's my mission. Okay, that's my mission. And I realized that my purpose came through me deepening within myself. And my path wasn't clear. I never thought that I was going to be a therapist. There was nothing. And even like the word being a leader was like, oh my God, never. Mm-hmm. But then now I'm realizing, oh, okay, so the path that unfolds, I was thinking this morning driving here, everything is so unknown right now. Mm-hmm. But the willingness to be in that place of the unknown is where the path unfolds from.
Exactly.
I believe.
Yes.
And that deep letting go of the attachment to the expectation or this need to be whatever it is we need to be. I need to be like this. I need to have this much money. I need to be married. I need to, like, all of that is like, okay, if you're willing to put all of those expectations aside, then you're beginning creation, your own creation.
So it requires a deep courage and building up, like we are building in our gyms and workouts, body muscle. We need to build awareness muscle. Yeah. Otherwise, we can't navigate our lives as wounds and traumas starts to navigate us.
Totally.
And it's so interesting what you're mentioning about, the way you started to direct your focus and attention and how your life started to transform in the most unexpected ways, but through the dark into something bright and light, which you call mission or the meaning of life.
Yeah.
And I just remembered, I just shortly came back from Colombia, and I just was deeply in indigenous tribes and communities. And I was asking every woman, we were like a big community, women's circle, what about traumas? What about how do you deal with it? What happens when someone is being raped, someone is being killed, something really dramatic happens in your community? And they exactly responded the same way as we are talking now. They say, well, when we look at the person who we also look at where is it coming from? What's happening to him? So he did this, big painful situation. So what they do, they take them to a wisdom keeper from 3 to 9 years, depending on what they did and how deep their wound is. And the wisdom keeper is teaching them wisdom, and they are secluded from the community, but they are not closed in jail. They are learning wisdom deeper, and they are really going through these traumas. And most of these people who were closed and secluded from communities, they come back as wisdom keepers.
Interesting.
So they said, almost all our leaders are coming from the deepest dark place. Yeah. What they did to the community, then they went into the deepest dark, facing their darkness, and they came up with the lightest and brightest wisdom and light they emanating.
Absolutely.
So what you are saying right now, I say, it was so beautiful to listen to all Western women and to see the other circle of women who are coming from indigenous. Yeah. If our society would look at that with this responsibility as like, oh, somebody did something, where is coming from? How can we help? How we can elevate our society? This is what the indigenous community is doing. This would be a totally different reality, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
But
there's too much money, I think, in keeping us, Gabor wrote a book about it, but in keeping us ill.
Yeah.
We live in a culture which isn't designed to heal us. It's actually the most radical act that you can do is do the inner work and to heal yourself and to be sovereign.
And this is what and what you are saying, where I really resonated, that all the old structure is collapsing.
Yeah.
Nothing is gonna work the same way. I feel we are riding on the inertia, but also a lot of things happening and shifting. So, for example, if the people are in the cities and they are numbed and not feeling it and not thinking about it, it might be too far what we are sharing right now. But you having a lot of clients, big groups, and me too, I'm reflecting on the groups and work I'm doing with businesses, couples, or big women gatherings here in Ibiza and abroad. What do you reflect about the world? Why do you say that the old system is collapsing?
Because it's not based in truth, and it's based in the illusion that we need to be something other than who we are authentically. So I don't believe that we've been educated that we need to that vulnerability is something to avoid when actually it's the gift is being able to cry and scream and express our emotions. I think that the problem happened when we learned that it was unsafe to feel. Mm-hmm. And so the big shift now is shifting from this idea that we have control through the mind, mm-hmm. when actually our biggest gift is through feeling and through sensing and through being connected to our intuitive self and to what I refer to as is our inner intelligence, which is basically what happens when we peel back the layers of the mind and we are actually connected to the earth plane, through our body. We're connected to our ancestral realms through our DNA, through our bloodline, but also connected to our higher self, our soul self, or our teams of light, however you want to call that. And to be able to live in a place of pure presence where you're just naturally being guided and supported. Obviously, you're making the choices from your in the moment now self, but those choices are not, I would say, not conditioned by the past or by our previous, I want to say previous incarnations, just because I believe that.
Or genetic.
Like leftovers. I need to be a certain way with this person.
Yes.
Because just naturally women needing to please the masculine.
Yes.
And not for that to be misunderstood. I love my husband. I'm so grateful for our relationship, and it's important. I need that relationship for the support and the guidance and the protection, but also not to go into my pleasing identity, who I used to be.
Yes.
And so
the humanity as itself, when we are talking about like the old system is collapsing.
Yeah.
Do we have enough people who are waking up in their consciousness in order to claim that the old system? Do we?
Of course we do.
What do you think about upcoming accelerating AI and, new generation not coming up from the screens, which I'm seeing and also observing like, we are very different generations right now, even looking and observing about it. How do you see this old system and new system turning into this embodiment and awareness in our society, like collective consciousness?
Very specifically, I see it as us, the wisdom keepers. How can we create a bridge to the new generation? Mm-hmm. And it may not be, from what I've perceived of the new generation, there are a lot of the new generation that are very awake, and that we can use the tools of AI, but with discernment.
Yes.
But the gift is through the humanness. Mm-hmm. It's through the sacredness of the body. It's through the power of the heart. Mm-hmm. And AI doesn't have that. I don't believe that it will ever have that because it's not designed for that. And I don't live in that fear program. Mm-hmm. I choose not to. And I have no idea what is going to happen, but I do believe that we have the power, and that's why we came here, is to do this and to bridge the gap between, they need the wisdom keepers, and we are here to bridge that with them. And not everybody is going to be a part of this new way of being, but that's okay.
So women who are listening right now and they are in between, for example, they're like, I know there is another way to live, but I'm still running the old pattern show.
Yeah.
What could you advise for them? What would be their guidance?
I would advise that that's a good feeling to be able to see both and to acknowledge that there is that old path and to remember the power to choose and to make a plan for yourself to come back into alignment. And that plan is self-care, learning to befriend your emotions, learning what it feels like to feel emotions and harness them, learning that it's important to understand where you're leaking energy, what type of situations or people or places, and to recognize that and to come back into this power that we have as women to listen to the gut, which is our intuitive self, and to find a group of women that are like-minded, or find a friend that you can express yourself honestly with, someone that you can cry with, that you don't feel judged, that you feel safe with, and little by little open up that circle.
Exactly.
To, maybe find a wisdom keeper in your area or a therapist that you can work with that can guide you. And, we have a center in Ibiza. My husband and I come to Ibiza and we guide.
Come to us. We are here. We have many people here to express that, to help that guidance.
Yeah.
And it's the beautiful thing is like, for me, I remember when I was going through 9 years of school with Sufis and really going from one world to another. I was running the business here in Ibiza and show life all over the stages. And then I would take a plane, go to Lithuania, take a train 12 hours, go to Moscow, and from Moscow go to the forest. And I was questioning myself, why I'm doing this? Why I constantly do such a huge effort? Meantime, my age people are investing in their careers in real estate, and I'm just spending all this energy and effort to invest in my real estate, inner real estate. But this is what I realized later, with deeper and deeper building up, that is the only way. Everything around you can collapse. But as long as you are building this unshakable center within yourself, awareness, as you say, embodiment, understanding, this is where you coming back to yourself, and no economy, let's say crisis can crash you just because you've built yourself. This is the biggest investment we can ever do.
Yeah, and that it's never too late to begin.
And it's never too late. Even if it's your last day, it's already amazing.
Yeah,
that you can
I began very late, and so I had no idea what I was going to be going into. And it really it boils down to the choices that we make, and being able to slow down enough to interrupt that process. Is just by noticing the way that we speak, the way that we're acting, the people the loops that we get in, and to say, to be able to ask for help.
Yes.
I think is a big one.
Yes.
To say, someone help me, to find that person.
Yes.
It helps a lot.
So can we name that spiritual bypassing is when you are afraid or not facing the embodiment of looking at your body and facing all the emotions?
So I joke that I have a PhD in spiritual bypassing because I did spend 10 years completely spiritually bypassing, unconsciously, of course. I thought that I could be that one person that could still have have the alcohol and drugs and be hyper spiritual. Now I know there's a lot of people that do that, but it just doesn't work anymore. I believe in the laws of the universe, the energetic laws of the universe, and there is something called the law of reciprocation and the mirroring, and that if we don't do the inner work, I believe it will come to us in the form of conflicts, challenges in our energetic field. So I was spiritual bypassing until the shit got so real that I had to do something about it. I had to get sober. So I think spiritual bypassing is a very common reaction in the first stages of awakening, and that's fine. We all try to do it. We all want to avoid the pain. It comes down to, am I willing to be with the uncomfortable? And of course, people will say, well, why do I want to suffer? Well, suffering is part of being human. And those are the Four Noble Truths of Buddhism, that suffering is something that we experience in this reality, and it comes through the mind. So once you begin to understand that if you learn to understand the mind, that you can actually understand the meaning of the suffering. And meaning of suffering. Is there a meaning to the suffering? Well, maybe it's something that loves you so much it keeps on pushing you until you decide to look at it and bring it back in.
And take a different angle on suffering as well, like an expansion and growth. If you go to the gym again and you want to work out, it hurts, you know, but you see that your body is evolving.
Yeah.
So before we close, I like to end with a small reflection. Stephanie, if there is one thing you would want a woman listening today to remember, what would it be?
That she's safe to feel all of the pain, and that there is a space for her to reconnect with that pain, and to understand that within that pain is her power. And that is the truth of who she came here to be, because we are amazing, powerful leaders. And it's tough. It's super tough right now. There is a spiritual war happening of energy. And it's up to us, I believe, to really honor the parts of ourselves that tried to protect us and that allowed us to survive, but that now it's time to take it back into our own hands and to do this one by one. And that we're here together to support one another. Yeah.
We are never alone.
Yeah.
What I'm taking from this conversation for myself, and I do believe for the listeners, that we are creators and owners of our own reality. And when we really take time, as you mentioned, to feel, to really be with uncomfortable and take this courage and say that it is exactly what I've been waiting for in order to transform, then nothing wrong is happening to you. You are just recreating whatever you want instead of what you didn't want or don't want. So the power of creator, may it stay with us, and may we surround ourselves with the people we want to become.
Yeah.
We want to be uplifted by, and we want to be inspired by.
Yeah. Well, beautiful. Beautifully said.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. Beautiful. Thank
you. Beautiful. To be continued.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes. And question to you, dear listeners, what are you taking from this conversation? Please share your thoughts in the comments. If this conversation resonated, I share deeper reflections and guided audio practices in Now Be You Substack, a space to slow down, think clearly, and reconnect with yourself in the middle of a full life. Few times a year, we bring this work into real life through carefully curated retreats, where leading women step away from the noise, reflect, and return with clarity and renewed direction. Subscribe to Now Be You Substack and find out more. Until next time, stay yourself.